Have you ever walked into a room full of people and felt completely alone? Have you ever sat in silence, scrolling through your phone, realizing there's no one you could actually call? A woman with no friends is a woman the world should be afraid of. Because a woman who walks alone learns to fight her own battles. A woman who stands alone builds her own empire. A woman with no one to lean on becomes unbreakable. And if that's you, you are more powerful than you think. I know what it feels like to be left out. To watch others laugh while you sit in the shadows. To feel like you don't belong. Society tells us that a woman should be surrounded by love, by people, by validation. But what if you don't have that? Let me tell you something, your loneliness is not your weakness, it's your weapon. Do you know why most people fear being alone? Because they are scared to face themselves. They are scared of their own thoughts, their own power, their own potential. But you've been forced into solitude, and that means you have been given a gift of self-discovery. This is your moment. While they are distracted by gossip, you are building your future. While they waste time seeking approval, you are mastering your craft. While they rely on others, you are becoming a force of nature. The strongest women in history, they walked alone first. The women who changed the world, they were doubted, criticized, and underestimated, but they turned their isolation into elevation. So if you feel like no one supports you, good, that means no one can stop you. If you feel like no one understands you, perfect, that means you're not meant to fit in, you're meant to stand out. You don't need a circle of friends to feel whole. You don't need constant validation to be worthy. You don't need anyone to tell you that you're enough. You are enough, right now, as you are. The next time you walk into a room and feel alone, lift your chin higher. The next time you hear whispers behind your back, smile because that means you're doing something right. The next time you doubt your worth, remember diamonds are formed under pressure. Legends are built in isolation, queens rise alone. You see, the world has tricked you. It has fed you a lie, whispering in your ear that if you are alone, you are missing something. That if you don't have a group to validate you, you are less. That if your phone is silent, your worth has disappeared into the void. But let me tell you something they don't want you to know. The woman who stands alone holds a power so rare, so unshakable, that it terrifies people. She doesn't drown in distractions. She doesn't beg for attention. She doesn't need a hand to hold every time life gets hard. Instead, she looks her demons in the eye and whispers, "Is that all you've got?" Because here's the truth. Loneliness isn't an empty space, it's a training ground. It's the place where warriors are made, where minds sharpen, where hearts grow resilient. While the world is out there chasing likes, faking smiles, and drowning in meaningless conversations, you are in the silence building yourself. You are facing your fears without a crowd to clap for you. You are growing, expanding, evolving without needing an audience. There is something dangerous about a woman who learns to enjoy her own company. She doesn't rely on flattery. She doesn't crumble under rejection. She doesn't seek approval like a beggar on the streets. Instead, she walks with a presence so powerful that when she enters a room, people feel it before she speaks. And yet society will try to tell you that this strength is loneliness. They will make you believe that being alone is a curse, that solitude is suffering. But think about it, who are the ones trying to convince you of this? The people who are terrified of their own silence. The ones who run from themselves. The ones who can't stand to be alone with their own thoughts for more than 5 minutes without drowning in insecurity. But you are different. You are the woman who uses solitude as her weapon. While they are wasting time, you are mastering your mind. While they are clinging to others for validation, you are finding validation in your own reflection. While they are talking about dreams, you are silently building yours. There is a reason why some of the greatest minds, the most powerful leaders, the most legendary women walked alone first. Because when you strip away the noise, the fake friends, the shallow conversations, and the constant need for approval, what you are left with is you. And that is the most powerful force in the universe. You don't need 100 voices telling you that you're good enough. You don't need a room full of people nodding in agreement for you to believe in yourself. You don't need anyone to hold your hand when the storm comes. Because when you have walked alone long enough, you don't fear the storm. You become the storm. A woman who embraces her solitude is unstoppable. Because she doesn't need to be liked, she needs to be respected. She doesn't need validation, she needs a mission. She doesn't need to fit in, she was born to stand out. And the best part, the day will come when the same people who looked at you with pity, who whispered behind your back, who thought you were too alone to succeed, will look up at you in awe. They will wonder how you became so powerful, so fearless, so untouchable. And they will never understand that while they wasted their time looking for approval, you are out there turning your solitude into strength. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them misunderstand you, because one day they won't be able to ignore you. There is something unsettling about her. Something unexplainable. She does not follow the crowd, yet the crowd watches her. She does not seek validation, yet her presence demands attention. She does not walk in with a group, but somehow she dominates the entire space. People don't understand it. They whisper, they speculate, they wonder, how does she do it? How does she carry herself with such unshakable confidence? How does she move through life without needing anyone to lift her up? What they don't realize is that she has already walked through the fire alone. She has faced her darkest moments without a hand to hold. She has built herself from the ground up, brick by brick, without waiting for anyone to save her. She has endured battles that would have broken most, yet here she stands unbothered, untouched, untouchable. She does not need approval. She does not need applause. She does not need a crowd to make her feel important. Because she has already done the impossible, she has made peace with herself. She has learned to be alone and still be whole. And that terrifies people. Because the world is used to women who seek permission, who wait for someone to tell them they are enough, who shrink themselves to fit into the mold. The world is not prepared for a woman who walks alone, unafraid of the silence, unafraid of the judgment, unafraid of standing out. She does not beg to be seen. She does not chase friendships that drain her. She does not waste her energy on meaningless connections. Because she knows her power does not come from being surrounded by people, it comes from knowing who she is when no one is watching. And when she walks into a room, the energy shifts. She does not have to say a word. She does not have to prove herself. The way she carries herself, the way she owns her space, the way she stands firm in her presence, it is enough to make people take notice. They may not always like her. They may misunderstand her. They may fear her, but they will respect her. Because a woman who walks alone is not ordinary. She is not controlled by trends, by opinions, by the fear of standing apart. She has mastered the art of solitude. She has turned her silence into strategy. She has embraced her independence so fiercely that she no longer craves acceptance. And that, right there, is what makes her the most powerful person in the room. Most people fear being alone because they can't face themselves. You can. Look around. The world is loud, chaotic, overflowing with distractions. Everyone is running, chasing, drowning in noise. They fill their days with endless conversations, meaningless scrolling, forced laughter in crowded rooms, all to escape the one thing they cannot handle, themselves. Because the moment the noise stops, the moment they are left alone in silence, their deepest fears come crawling out. The insecurities they try to hide, the wounds they never healed, the truth they pretend doesn't exist, it all surfaces the second they are left alone. That is why they cling to crowds. That is why they always need someone to talk to, someone to validate them, someone to tell them who they are. Because without that, They have to look in the mirror and face the person staring back at them. But you have walked through the silence and made it your home. You do not run from yourself, you have met every version of you. The strong one, the broken one, the fearless one, the doubtful one. You have sat with your own pain, you have looked your demons in the eye, you have embraced your shadows instead of running from them. And because of that, you have unlocked something that most people never will, true power. The kind of power that comes from knowing yourself completely. The kind of power that cannot be taken away by anyone. The kind of power that makes you untouchable. People will call it loneliness, but they are wrong. It is not loneliness, it is self-mastery. When you can sit in an empty room and feel whole, you have already won. When you do not need a crowd to feel important, you have already risen above the rest. When you do not fear silence, you have stepped into a level of strength that most will never understand. They wonder how you do it. They wonder how you carry yourself with such certainty, how you don't break under pressure, how you move through life without needing constant validation. They don't realize that you have already done the hardest thing a person can do. You have faced yourself and survived. The world fears silence because in silence truth is exposed, and the truth is most people do not know who they are without others telling them. They don't know what they stand for until someone else approves of it. They don't know how to exist without leaning on external validation. But you do. You do not need to be liked. You do not need to be understood. You do not need to be surrounded by people to feel powerful. Because you have found something far greater than temporary company. You have found yourself. And that, right there, is why you are unstoppable. Not because they wanted to, but because they had no choice. Because the world did not believe in them. Because they were too bold, too different, too much for those who preferred women to be silent, obedient, and dependent. Every woman who ever changed the world was once the woman no one believed in, the woman who was overlooked, the woman who was doubted, the woman who had to fight battles in the dark before she ever stepped into the light. They called her crazy, they called her difficult, they called her impossible. But she kept going. Not because she had support, not because she had a cheering crowd, but because she had something stronger. She had herself. When a woman walks alone, she has two choices: crumble under the weight of solitude or build herself into something unshakable. The ones who rise, they are the ones who use every ounce of doubt as fuel. They are the ones who turn rejection into resilience, loneliness into focus, and silence into strategy. She learns to move without waiting for permission. She learns to fight without needing an army. She learns to stand without fearing the fall. And then one day she is no longer the woman who is overlooked, she is the woman who cannot be ignored. History remembers these women, the ones who were cast aside but refused to disappear. The ones who were doubted but refused to break. The ones who stood alone until the world was forced to turn and look at them. They never started with a crowd. They started in the shadows, in the quiet, in the solitude. But make no mistake, when a woman walks alone long enough, she does not remain in the shadows. She becomes the fire the world cannot put out. The world will try to convince you otherwise. It will tell you that your worth is measured by how many people surround you, by how many friends you have, by how many invitations you receive. It will paint a picture where happiness looks like a crowded room, where success is defined by applause, where belonging is the ultimate validation. But that's a lie, because real power, real peace, real wholeness, it doesn't come from being surrounded. It comes from being complete within yourself. There are people with thousands of friends, yet they cry themselves to sleep every night. There are people who receive endless calls, yet they feel completely disconnected. There are people who can walk into any room and be welcomed by everyone, yet when they are alone, they crumble, because they built their sense of self on the presence of others. But you are different. You don't need a room full of people to tell you that you are enough. You don't need a circle of friends to remind you of your own greatness. You don't need constant validation to feel alive. You wake up every morning knowing who you are. You walk through life with certainty, not because others tell you that you matter, but because you know you do. And that kind of strength, it's rare, it's intimidating. It's the kind of strength that makes people question how you do it. How you stand so tall without a crowd to support you. How you shine so brightly without anyone holding a spotlight. How you move through the world with such unshakable confidence, as if you don't need anyone to approve of you. Because you don't. You are not someone who begs for company just to avoid the silence. You are not someone who clings to people just to feel seen. You are not someone who lowers their standards just to keep a large circle. You would rather walk alone in your truth than be surrounded by people who don't truly see you. And that is why you are powerful. Because you are whole, with or without them. Because you are enough, even when no one is watching. Because you are complete, not because of the people around you, but because of the fire within you. While others chase acceptance, you chase growth. While they seek company, you seek purpose. While they fear solitude, you embrace it. You do not need a large circle to feel whole. You are already whole from the start. Most people will never understand this. They will look at your solitude and assume it is a curse. They will feel sorry for you, whisper behind your back, wonder why you don't belong to a group, why you walk alone, why you seem distant. They don't realize that you are not lost, you are in training. You are not broken, you are being built. You are not waiting to be saved, you are preparing to rise. Because every legend, every warrior, every force of nature was once alone in the dark, sharpening their mind, strengthening their soul, and building the kind of resilience that no crowd could ever give them. Isolation is where you hear your own voice clearly. It is where you strip away the noise, the distractions, the false friendships, and finally come face to face with the most powerful person in your life, yourself. It is in the silence that you discover your fire. It is in the loneliness that you learn to depend on your own strength. It is in the moments of solitude that you transform from ordinary to unstoppable. Look at the greatest minds in history. The ones who rewrote the rules. The ones who shattered expectations. The ones who refused to fit in because they were destined to stand out. They were isolated before they were celebrated. They were doubted before they were admired. They were misunderstood before they became legends. Because isolation is not punishment, it is preparation. It is where the weak fall and the strong rise. It is where the ordinary break and the extraordinary are born. While others spend their time blending in, you are sharpening your skills. While they chase acceptance, you are chasing purpose. While they fill their days with shallow conversations, you are building a mind so powerful that one day the world will have no choice but to listen. Greatness does not grow in comfort. Strength is not built in crowds. Power is not given, it is earned. In the moments when no one is watching, when no one believes in you, when you are forced to push forward without applause, without validation, without support. That is when the real transformation happens. That is when you become something no one saw coming. That is when your isolation stops being loneliness and becomes the foundation of a legacy. They may look at you now and think you are alone. Let them. They have no idea that you are in the middle of becoming something unstoppable. Most people spend their lives in the comfort of the crowd. They seek safety in numbers, moving only where acceptance follows, speaking only words that are met with approval. They fear standing alone because it forces them to confront who they truly are. But you are not like them. You do not crave empty company. You do not shrink yourself just to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You do not silence your voice just to make others comfortable. Because your path is different. It is not lined with cheering crowds or constant validation. It is filled with challenges, resistance, and moments that test every ounce of your strength. And that is exactly why most people will never walk it. The truth is, Not everyone is meant to walk with you. Some will hesitate when the road gets tough. Some will leave when your ambition becomes too loud. Some will resent you for not needing their approval. Let them go, because you were never meant to carry those who are afraid of your power. You were never meant to dim your fire, to make others feel warm. You were never meant to lower your standards just to keep weak people beside you. Your journey demands strength. It demands resilience. It demands a kind of self-belief that does not waver in the face of doubt, rejection, or solitude. And those who cannot match that strength, they were never meant to stay. You see, most people want easy paths. They want roads that are well-traveled, safe, and filled with familiar faces. But you were never meant for the easy road. You were built for something greater. There will be moments when you look around and realize you are alone, when no one understands your vision, when no one believes in you, when the world questions your choices. Good. That is proof that you are walking the path of the rare, the bold, the unstoppable. Because the greatest warriors in history did not follow the crowd they led. The greatest minds did not wait for approval, they created. The strongest souls did not seek comfort, they embraced the fire. And that is exactly what you are doing. You are shedding the weight of those who do not belong on your journey. You are learning that loneliness is not a punishment, it is a sign that you are growing beyond the limits that most people accept. And one day when you stand at the top, the same people who once doubted you, who once walked away, who once thought you would break under the pressure of solitude will look up in awe. They will wonder how you did it. And they will never understand that while they feared the road alone, you became unstoppable because of it. Most people live their lives like puppets, controlled by the invisible strings of approval. They move where they are applauded, speak only what is accepted, and silence themselves the moment they sense disapproval. Their confidence is fragile, their worth dependent on the reactions of others, their dreams shaped by the expectations of the world. But you have broken free. You have stepped into a level of power that most will never reach because you have detached yourself from the need to be liked, understood, or accepted. You no longer beg for recognition, you no longer shrink yourself to fit in, and you no longer allow the opinions of others to dictate your choices. And that is true freedom. Because the moment you stop seeking external validation, you become dangerous. You become unpredictable. You become untamed, unshakable, and unstoppable. You no longer play by the rules designed to keep you small. You no longer wait for permission to take up space. You no longer hesitate to speak your truth, even when it makes others uncomfortable. The world does not know how to handle a woman who does not need their approval. They will call you arrogant. They will call you difficult. They will call you too much. Let them. Because what they are really saying is that they do not know how to control you. They do not know how to break you. They do not know how to dim the fire that burns too brightly within you. You see, people are only intimidated by the ones they cannot define. And when you no longer need their validation, you become something they cannot predict, cannot mold, cannot manipulate. That is why they fear you. Because you have stepped outside of the system that tells you to seek constant approval, the system that rewards obedience and punishes defiance, the system that thrives on making people doubt themselves so they stay small, stay silent, stay afraid. But you have rewritten the rules. You validate yourself, you approve of yourself. You believe in yourself not because someone else told you to, but because you decided to. And that decision, that changes everything. It means you will no longer hesitate when chasing your dreams. It means you will no longer second-guess your instincts. It means you will no longer lower your standards just to make others comfortable. It means you are free, and freedom is the most powerful thing a person can have. It is what separates those who live on their own terms from those who are forever trapped in the opinions of others. Most will never understand this kind of strength. They will never experience what it feels like to be their own source of power. They will never know what it means to move through the world with nothing to prove, nothing to beg for, nothing to lose. But you will. Because you are no longer waiting for applause. You are no longer waiting for approval. You are no longer seeking permission to exist loudly, boldly, unapologetically. You are done needing validation. And now you are limitless. How you thrived without a crowd. How you walked through fire without breaking. How you stood alone and still became unstoppable. They will search for the secret, the formula, the magic that made you unshakable, but they will never truly understand. Because the truth is, your power was never given to you, it was built in the silence, in the solitude, in the moments when no one believed in you, when no one stood beside you, when no one applauded your strength. You did not rise because you were supported, you rose because you refused to fall. You did not succeed because of validation, you succeeded because you stopped seeking it. And now, here you stand, a force of nature, a woman who answers to no one, a woman who forged herself in the fire of isolation and emerged unbreakable. They tried to ignore you, they tried to doubt you, they tried to make you believe that walking alone was a weakness. But look at you now, stronger than ever, louder than ever, more powerful than they ever expected. You were never just a woman with no friends, you were a woman who needed no permission to be great. So stand tall, walk with certainty, let them wonder, let them doubt, let them whisper. None of it matters, because while they fear being alone, you have mastered it. While they seek approval, you already know who you are. You are not just another face in the crowd, you are the force they never saw coming. Keep walking, keep rising, keep proving that a woman who stands alone is the most unstoppable force in the world. So stand tall. Walk with certainty. Let them wonder, let them doubt, let them whisper. Let them try to figure out how you move with such confidence, how you remain so unshaken, how you continue to rise without needing anyone to lift you. They will question you, they will misunderstand you, they may even envy you, because deep down they know that what you have is something they crave, but can't reach: complete and undeniable self-mastery. While they fear the silence, you have made it your strength. While they seek approval, you already know your worth. While they rely on others to feel whole, you have become your own source of power. That makes you rare. That makes you untouchable. That makes you unstoppable. So let them talk. Let them assume you are lonely. Let them believe you are missing out. They don't realize that you are not alone, you are in the company of someone far greater than they could ever understand. Because a woman who walks alone, who stands alone, who builds alone is the kind of woman who does not wait for doors to open. She kicks them down. She does not hope for a seat at the table. She builds her own empire. She does not seek a crown. She becomes the queen. So walk into every room like you belong there, because you do. Move through life like a force of nature, because you are. Stop explaining yourself. Stop shrinking. Stop waiting. Because the moment you embrace your own power, the world will no longer be able to ignore you. So stand tall. Walk with certainty. Let them wonder. Let them doubt. Let them whisper. Let them watch you from the sidelines, confused and intrigued by your strength. Let them try to figure out how you move with such unshakable confidence, how you remain so composed when others would break, how you keep rising when there's no one lifting you up. They will question you. They will misunderstand you. They may even envy you. Because deep down they know that what you have is something rare, something they crave but have never been able to grasp: complete and undeniable self-mastery. They cannot understand how you thrive in solitude when they crumble without attention. They cannot understand how you remain focused when they are lost in the noise of the world. They cannot understand how you move forward without clinging to the approval of others. But that is the difference between you and them. While they fear silence, you have made it your sanctuary. While they seek validation, you already know your worth. While they rely on the crowd, you rely on yourself. That makes you powerful. That makes you untouchable. That makes you unstoppable. So let them talk. Let them assume you are lonely. Let them believe you are missing out. They don't realize that you are not alone, you are in the company of someone far greater than they could ever understand. She is not ordinary, she is not just another face in the crowd. She is the storm they never saw coming, the force they cannot control, the fire that will not burn out. So walk into every room like you belong there because you do. Move through life like a force of nature because you are. Stop explaining yourself, stop shrinking. Stop waiting for someone to tell you that you are enough. Because the moment you embrace your own power, the world will no longer be able to ignore you.